You know the image, right? This terrifying beast, body of a man, head of a bull, stuck in a maze. But what if the whole story of the Minotaur isn't just some old myth? What if it's actually a timeless warning about the monsters that we create? So let's start with this thought. What if the most terrifying monsters out there aren't really creatures of fantasy at all, but are just reflections of their creators? What if the Minotaur wasn't born from magic, but from a single very, very human mistake? To get how that works, we have to go right back to the beginning. You see, our story doesn't start with a monster. It starts with a man, King Minos of Crete. And the whole thing really hinges on one single decision, a decision that was born from pure pride. So the setup is pretty simple. Minos wants to prove he's the rightful king, so he prays to Poseidon, the god of the sea, for some kind of divine sign. And Poseidon delivers. He sends this incredible, magnificent white bull charging right out of the waves. The deal was crystal clear. Minos gets this amazing symbol of divine favor, but in return, he has to sacrifice that same bull right back to the god. It was a test of loyalty, plain and simple. But Minos, oh, Minos, he gets a look at this perfect bull, and he's just completely captivated. Blinded by his own greed, he decides he knows better. He thinks, I'll just add this amazing bull to my own herd and sacrifice some other lesser one instead. I mean, he really thought he could pull a fast one on a god. And that single act of defiance, that is the critical turning point for this entire story. Now, the ancient Greeks had a word for this, hubris. And this isn't just your garden variety pride, oh no. This is that toxic, next-level arrogance that makes someone truly believe they are above the rules, that they can actually outsmart the gods. And that one moment of hubris is the spark that's about to light this whole thing on fire. And here's the thing about these stories. Every single act of hubris has a consequence. Poseidon's revenge, though, is way more twisted and, honestly, more poetic than just a simple lightning bolt from the sky. So, King Minos breaks his sacred promise. His pride, his disrespect for this divine gift, well, it unleashes Poseidon's fury. But the god is insulted, right? He doesn't just strike Minos down. No, his punishment is so much more insidious. He aims the curse at the king's completely innocent wife, Queen Pasiphae. It's this terrifying reminder of how our actions can have these devastating, totally unforeseen impacts on the people we love. Poseidon curses the queen with this grotesque, unnatural passion for the very same bull that Minos refused to sacrifice. It's just a perfect, horrifying irony, right? It shows how the consequences of our pride can show up in the most bizarre ways, twisting what's natural into something truly monstrous. So this unnatural union, which is a direct result of Minos' hubris, leads to an inevitable, horrifying outcome. The consequence of his choice is literally about to take on a physical form. And the result is the Minotaur, half man, half bull. But you see, it's not just a creature. It's a living, breathing symbol of what happens when human arrogance messes with the natural order of things. It is failure, made flesh. This thing isn't just some beast you can go out and slay. It's a self-created problem that now demands a terrible, terrible price. It feeds on human flesh, which just symbolizes how these monstrous creations we make end up consuming not only us, the makers, but also the innocent people all around us. It just perpetuates this awful cycle of suffering. Okay, so now King Minos has this monstrous problem, a living, breathing symbol of his own shame, just roaming around his palace. So what does he do? Does he confront it? Does he admit his mistake? Nope. He decides to hide it. He hires the brilliant inventor Daedalus to build an elaborate prison, the Labyrinth. But this isn't just about architecture, it's a psychological move. That maze represents the incredibly complex systems of denial we build to avoid facing our own mistakes. We choose to just contain the monster rather than confront the hubris that created it in the first place. The labyrinth is so much more than a maze. It's a powerful symbol for how we build these complex, self-imposed prisons just to hide our failures. And the tragedy is that its inescapable design shows just how deeply entrenched these problems can get, trapping us inside right along with them. So let's put all these pieces together. The whole story becomes this really powerful allegory. King Minos' defiance, that's human hubris. The curse on his wife, that represents the unforeseen, often devastating consequences of our actions. The Minotaur itself is the monster we create, the physical form of our failure.
And the labyrinth? Well, that's the prison of denial we build to hide from the truth.
So why does this ancient story still hit so hard today? Because, let's be honest, we are still King Minos. We are still building labyrinths to hide the monsters of our own making.
This myth is a timeless warning. Our modern minotaurs aren't half-bull creatures, of course. They're the systemic problems we refuse to solve, the toxic ideologies we just let fester, the personal demons we feed in silence. And the complex bureaucracies, the social media echo chambers, the justifications we create to avoid dealing with them, those, right there, are our modern labyrinths. And so the story leaves us with this really provocative question. It reminds us that it's just profoundly human to create a problem out of pride and then build an elaborate prison just to avoid facing it. So take a look at your own life, your own world. What monsters are you feeding in your own labyrinth? And what's the ultimate price of keeping them hidden?